As filmmakers, we're always chasing for a certain look or a certain feel in an image. Not just clean color, but depth, texture, emotion, what draws us into a scene. Today I want to show you a film emulation tool that I've been testing out. This is Dehancer, and I've recently been using it on some projects to see how it can fit in my workflow. And today we're going to be using it in Premiere Pro. This footage here comes from a short lighting practice project I shot recently. This type of film really suits that film style look, and this is where Dehancer works so well in bringing that filmic look out. And just a quick note before we get started, Dehancer did reach out to me and gave me access to their plugin just to test out and share my thoughts. No money was exchanged and they have no input in what I have to say here. Now, Dehancer isn't something I'd use on an everyday job, and I think that's actually important to say. A lot of my client work needs to be clean and neutral and really fast editing. Corporate interviews and campaigns, branded content, high volume edits, Dehancer just really isn't built for that. Also, I think it's important to note that at the start when I installed the plugin, I had an activation issue. So I contacted the support team and they fixed the issue straight away. So that's great. Okay, drag and drop Dehancer onto an adjustment layer and you'll see an array of options and settings inside of the effects control panel. Dehancer isn't about applying a look, it's about rebuilding an image through a film pipeline. So it's a little different than just putting a lookup table on top of your image. The first step in the process is interpreting the log footage correctly. So we'll need to set the correct input up here. So we have input and we have some lists here. We've got Rec 709 if you filmed it in Rec 709, or you can choose the camera, which is what we're going to do today. Dehancer pretty much has every digital camera in the list, so there's no issues here. Getting the right color space here is critical. If this step is wrong, everything just falls apart in your edit later on. FX6, and I shot this in ISO 800. It's great that they have your base ISOs in here. So this is the start. Just make sure there's no other, yes, I have a lumetri on, so I'm just going to delete these out. These were, see, it's also important to note that you can add in lumetri color as well as using Dehancer. So you don't have to use everything in Dehancer, but for this particular run through and workflow, we're just going to use Dehancer. From here, I choose a film profile or film stock that suits the overall feel and emotion I'm going for. Each one has its own color response and contrast, just like a real film stock would. The film stocks I like to use are the Kodak Vision 3 500T. I also like to use the CineStill 50 and the CineStill 800T. There's no right or wrong here with what stock you want to pick. It all just comes down to the look and feel that you're after. For this particular film, I'm going to pick the Kodak Vision 3 500T. And I'm picking this solely because you can still buy this film stock today. Now you can push and pull this to get a different look again. Now by default, some sections in here, like film grain, are enabled automatically. I'm not sure why some things are enabled, but I always like toggle that off just so I can start with a clean image. Sometimes you may not want film grain added for the edit, you know, and you can use Dehancer without adding grain, even though adding grain is their signature. Then comes the print stage, which is a huge part of what makes the image feel filmic. For the profile, I like to use the Kodak 2383 print film, but you can choose the others if you like. This is just the one that I like. And this is where the tonal range starts to compress and the highlights roll off much more natural. This here is all just trying to get a look that you like. Okay, film compression I like to do next. Now this part helps shape the tonal range so the image feels less digital and more organic. Just make sure you enable each section that you want, because sometimes they're not enabled, and then you can be adjusting and you wonder why it's not changing the values. Sometimes it can feel like it's not making adjustments, but here you just want nice subtle adjustments. So that's film compression. And now this one, vignette. Vignetting is something I like to add in at the beginning. For this particular film, I'm going with a stronger vignette, and you can toggle that on and off. Okay, next is color head tool. Now this tool is so you can dial in the balance of color to suit the look you're going for, and you can also adjust the tonal values in the shadows, midtones, and highlights. Just make sure you enable that again, and you can really push and pull this. And I'm going for a slightly warmer look. And preserve exposure and impact, I just keep on 100%. Okay, now after this, the next one is film grain. This is where if you want, you can add as much as you like or as little as you like. There's all sorts of presets already enabled in here. I do like the 35 ISO 250. It gives us a nice texture and it breaks that perfect digital look up, which is what we're going for. Sometimes I like to add no grain at all, but this is just a personal preference. Obviously, if you're gonna go to 8mm film, the grain becomes quite large, and that's really for specific style of work that you're doing. Maybe you're doing a scene in a documentary where you want to go back in time and see footage or recreate a footage that seems like it's shot back in the 1930s. You can also do custom, so you can dial in the size of your grain that you like. I like about 12, and the amount, I'd like to go quite low. And if we zoom in and toggle this on and off, you can see that it's adding a really nice natural grain to the image. And I quite like that. That looks quite nice. So even with Dehancer on and off so far, this is what we've been able to create. And if we slide through our footage, everything's looking quite nice. And we really haven't done too crazier stuff. So this just shot here is a little bit brighter, and reason being for this particular film was we're coming to a resolution of truth. So everything seems brighter and more open to what this character is trying to figure out. There's a conclusion here. Now next is halation. I like to add a little halation. This is where highlights bloom. So it's not really in this footage, but say here, where we can see it on a face. So if we enable this, and you're starting to get that halation where the highlights bloom and bleed into the surrounding areas. These settings are optional, but it really does add an authentic film look, especially when we're adding grain and bloom effects to the image. You're really selling that filmic look that we're going for. And it's very natural and subtle. Here, again, you can pick down the presets, how much you want, or you can go into custom and then push and pull this as much as you feel. Amplify here is going to be the strongest one that we're going to look for. And as you can see, it's in the highlights to the darks, it's really pushing or amplifying that halation a lot. So I'm just gonna leave that a little bit lower. And I like all of this. This feels pretty neutral and natural to me. So we just toggle this on and off. That looks pretty good. Okay, the next one is bloom. So we can, again, we've got different presets. We can set custom. Make sure we enable this first. And as you can see straight away, just by enabling that, We've got a Super 35 or 35 mil bloom look. As you can see, that looks quite nice straight off the bat. But just for this, we're gonna go custom. Again, amplify is going to be the one that's gonna blow these out. Now, in this scene, it's not gonna be heap strong, but say if you had a nighttime scene or shots where there's light posts or neon lights or anything like that, that's really gonna elevate an image. This will work really well and really pull off a nice look, especially on those strong highlights. And film is very much known for that. And this really softens the bright areas and really takes that digital edge off some of these areas. Again, subtle is always best and key when you're adding these types of effects. Toggle that on and off. And bring this even lower. We don't need a lot of blooming with this one. So if we go out to 100%, so it's very subtle, but sells that look. And just quickly, if you have a certain scene or a series of scenes in a documentary where you need to add film damage to your look, this is a great tool and it actually feels very natural. So again, you just got a lot of lists of damage. See, obviously Super 8 is going to give you the most. So if we scrub through or like play this through, you can see a lot of film damage is happening. I would add more grain if I was going to be adding film damage. I think that would sell it off a lot better. Let's see what 30 or 65 does. It's a lot less on this, so it's a little bit more sellable. And again, you can dial in how much you want and how little you want, from hairs to scratches, total amount. You can push and pull this as much as you want. But for this particular workflow and this particular image, I'm gonna keep this off just to keep it clean. But it's a really nice feature to have on there. Another nice feature is Overscan. Now, Overscan recreates the physical characteristics of scanned film. And this is a great tool, to be honest. It saves you heaps of time if you need to have this feature. And you can toggle down all different styles. You've probably seen this in a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of Instagram videos. Just play this through. It seems to be quite popular. Again, there's 16 mil, Super 16, Ultra 16, Super 35. This is a very popular one. And you know, if you add in more grain, more film damage, so if you need this tool, it's also a great feature. Widescreen. And then Ultra Panavision Wide. And this tool is super easy. It literally is just an enable button and instantly you've got an overscan over your image. And you know, I don't use this often, but you know, when I do use it, at least I know that I've got the tool there, and that's quite handy to have. The key to these tools is holding back. These tools are powerful and everything comes together when they're used subtly. There's a lot of depth in here and we can go much further than this, but this is my general workflow when using Dehancer. The biggest difference isn't just color with this plugin. The image feels less digital and perfect, and that's exactly why it works and why I like it for certain projects. It really does have that unique look, and I think this plugin really does a great job at recreating that filmic look. Dehancer isn't a one-click solution. It's not like a lookup table or a LUT. It's simply a slower, more intentional way to color grade, and that's actually why I like Dehancer for particular jobs. For me, Dehancer isn't gonna be a plugin that I use on a daily basis. It's really a creative tool that I'll use sparingly on projects that need that filmic look. Like I said earlier, it's not always going to be the go-to tool. It might be only 20% of the projects that I work on that I'll use Dehancer. If you would like to check out Dehancer, I've left a link in the description with a discount code. And of course, if you like this video or if you have any questions, leave me a comment, and thank you for watching this far. It really means a lot.